Okay, this is episode 406, Piñata. I'm Peter Gould, the co-creator and executive producer of the show.
Hi, I'm Gennifer Hutchison, writer and executive producer.
I'm Andrew Stanton, the director of this episode.
And I'm Patrick Fabian. I play Howard Hamlin on Better Call Saul.
And this is, by the way, the Andrew Stanton and the Patrick Fabian we're talking about here.
And the Peter Gould.
Well, yes. No, it's a Peter Gould.
No substitutes.
Not the other ones that if you Google, you'll see there's a lot of other ones. There are a lot of other Peter Goulds around. And here we are back in time.
Yep. Always, every time Howard's End all the way down gets said, Jen, it gets a laugh. Every time
gets
I've
a
ever
laugh,
seen
right?
anybody say it.
I'm just so excited when we were looking up the what the Academy Awards were for this year that it was Howard's End year because I'm such a huge Emma Thompson fan. And it allowed me to fully nerd out in the script. That's all I care about in writing.
Well, it was fun because we were talking about what kind of pool it was going to be.
And it had to so clearly be an Oscar pool because
Yes.
Jimmy's such a movie guy.
Yes, and also a lot of us in the writers' room know nothing about sports, so that kind of excludes a lot of things, a lot of options.
You were indoor kids growing up, is what you're saying.
You know, we live the stereotype.
That's true. It's true.
Oh, there he is.
This was a super honor to get to work with him in one of the episodes that he was in for this season.
Yeah, there were only the two.
Just the two. Yeah.
So Andrew, you have a background. You have a background not in television, and this
No.
is only the second TV show you've directed. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And so, what's it like coming in? Because everything else you've done, you've created, and you've also been a writer on almost
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And now, what's it like coming into something that's an ongoing concern?
Well, it's when it's a show you're a fan of, which I made a big point of trying to get onto that track. You just, half the work's done for you. It's actually a joy. I mean, it's grueling to work so fast, but man, after planning most of your life, you're so spontaneity starved, and there's nothing but spontaneity in this. So I call this like great Oscar Peterson jazz, working this fast, as opposed to trying to make the next symphony with Mozart, for years in my other hat that I wear, the other world that I'm in. So this was fantastic. And it was such a well-oiled machine. It was obvious you guys have been doing this for quite a while, the team, both in front and behind the camera. And it just really allowed you room, no matter how fast you were working, to explore the best answer to everything.
And congratulations again.
Well, I thought you were really great, especially like in this scene, because this is the first time that Chuck is back with us, and as actors, we sorely missed him, at the end of season 3, and so he's back, and so it's a celebratory thing. It's like he's alive, and there he is, and so you're talking about the jazz thing. It's so fun to watch him work, and I always feel inspired to to be in a scene and watch him do his thing.
Yeah, Michael McKean, he understands the script and the character so well, and these little sarcastic jibes that you've got in here, Jenny.
Yeah.
He just lands every single piece, and there's the man. So Patrick,
The man and the tie bar, yes.
well, it's you guys back together again. You and Michael McKean back together.
Absolutely, which I loved because it really didn't dawn on me that he really was, he really did kill himself at the end of season 3 until we came to season 4 and he wasn't there. And I felt the void as both an actor and a character and a friend, because I missed him. Anytime I was in a scene with Michael McKean, I always knew it was going to be good because he was in it. And so it's great to see him, albeit just briefly, to shake hands with him and wear the suit alongside of him.
Ben, what do you got for me?
And we established a flashback look in season 1, which, not to get too technical, is we crushed the blacks and we added a little bit of blue, and I've have mixed feelings about it now because it's not appropriate for every scene. So we've been adjusting it, and this is the lighter flashback look, and it's a very tricky thing when you try to be consistent with elements of the show. Sometimes you don't want to be hobbled by foolish consistency.
I feel like I should stitch that on a
I
pillow.
know.
That felt very.
Frame it on the wall.
I know.
What's he doing?
Little peep.
What's he doing?
And of course, obviously, our wonderful art department built this entire set. There is no library
No.
at this location.
No,
That's the most
not at
boring
all.
end of a hall you've ever seen.
It is.
So now we leave our flashback world. And here. This is a very interesting beginning to an episode because it's very quiet. It starts off. This episode starts deceptively quietly, I think.
Yeah, and I remember having conversations with you, Andrew, about this scene and these files.
Yeah.
And approaching how to film this.
And trying to make it just like a character that's staring at you. That's sitting across from the table. I tried to treat the folders like I'm still here. I'm still looking at you. That seemed to work. My only regret is I didn't get a close up of the fish.
I know.
I was refraining from making any fish jokes.
We were going to be good, but
But I remember having discussions with props and making sure that we just made as obvious a difference in every way with the mundane, common element of those folders compared to the slick Mesevere folders, so that you just really got it on every level.
yeah, it is a challenge because she doesn't have someone to talk to. Like she really doesn't.
Oh, right. She can't comment on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That poor cat.
That cast. I keep looking at that cast and I realize since I didn't have to wear it, I really do not appreciate what a pain in the ass it was for her to have that.
I didn't know it until we were on set, and I was like, "Oh, so the cast, is it like got a hinge? What is it?" And she's like, "Oh, no. I come in every morning and they put the cast on.
They put the cast on.
And then
You're
at the end of
kidding
the
me.
day,
I
they
didn't
cut it
know
off."
that.
Yeah. So she
Wow.
was encumbered by it. In reality, she couldn't take it off between takes or anything like that. So.
Which was interesting then for wardrobe and everything else.
Yeah.
We tried using other kinds of casts, and just nothing looked as real
as the real thing.
as the real thing. And so there, thank God for Ray Seehorn.
Keeps you in character.
See, you got this some nice fish work.
Yeah.
He didn't do exactly what I asked him to do.
I find this scene so it seems so simple, but it is heartfelt because here she's been hoping that he's going to go into therapy, and nothing's been said about it, I'm assuming, for quite a while, and here it comes up again.
Yeah, I feel like, this is one of those scenes where they're not quite talking about what is actually going on, although Jimmy is making kind of a real effort to hit it head on and talk about it. But there's still that undercurrent of kind of, I don't know, it's not quite disappointment, but it's not going the way that she would want it to go.
What I like is that he's sort of seeking her approval by saying, "Is that okay that I'm making this decision?"
Yeah.
And he stacks the argument actually well in his favor. He's like, "Look, if it doesn't," and she's sort of forced into a corner to admit, "Yeah, sure, that's all right." Where clearly it doesn't sit well with her, and that's the the dirt in the salad for the scene. It just
Well, I think what it does too is it kind of gives her permission later in the episode for her own plans.
right.
One of the other things I love about this is that the characters are not oblivious to what's going on with each other. He knows exactly. He knows she's not happy, and she knows he's making it. He's slanting the argument, and they're in emotional touch with each other. And it's something I think we learned this season is that Jimmy is not Mr. Magoo about just ignoring Kim's feelings and her opinions. He's aware. But he sometimes chooses, to ignore things. And she is also aware. And of course, later on in the season, a lot of these things that have been boiling come to a head and explode.
Oof. I should go open up. sushi tonight?
He did do a take where he pointed at the fish on that one.
Yeah. I think it was originally Thai in the script, but they get Thai too often. So there was the suggestion of sushi.
I didn't know Albuquerque was known for its Thai, so that's good.
It's a wonderful city. So is this the first time we're seeing this full set?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you're right. Yes.
I want to make sure she was sitting at the end of Coakley so that she could project that maybe her name would be up there someday.
Oh, that's cool.
I love it. I love it. And this is a new set for us. The Schweikert and Coakley we've seen before, but it's always been little pieces of locations, and we've never really spent any time there. So the lobby and the conference room are all different locations, and so was Schweikert's office. And now Judy and our amazing construction crew built this set, and it's interesting because we've now seen 3 different law firms, and each one has a completely different personality.
I will point out that all the other law firms other than HHM seem to have really nice leather couches. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, you know, you're.
Oh, I know.
I think you're more fashion forward.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a
exactly.
nice way to sell it.
You
Okay.
like leather, huh?
Well, it looks plush and yummy, doesn't it?
I have a question for you. How's your banking division?
And of course, Dennis Boutsikaris is just—he's always wonderful. And Jenny, you've written other scenes with Dennis.
I have, yeah. I wrote I wrote a really great monologue for him. I mean, how he performed it was so wonderful, and he always comes in so prepared and just with such a point of view.
Well, being a Los Angelino, I hate to say it, but he's a New York actor, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You get what you pay for.
Oh, and here's Andrew. So, Andrew, you had to introduce this new location.
This was a blast to put 2 houses inside such a giant space, and to have the honor of finding this space.
It's not a soundstage, right?
No. I just remember walking into it going, this is Gus Fring. Like, it is so tight and put together and color-coded. And
How do you approach that first shot? Like, how do you figure out that's how you want to introduce these houses in the space?
Well, I knew that we redesigned the houses so that they have those little front porches on the inside. So whenever you looked at it, it said home. It didn't say tract home. So it would be even odder, you know, that this sort of neighborhoody feel would be inside this industrial blank space. But seeing that scale difference and when the lights came on of them in the back, I just knew that was the shot.
I think your mic is dragging on your jacket.
I just knew that was the shot. There you go.
Was there something, somebody mentioned something about the actual lights in there made a buzz?
Yeah.
Was there a sound issue?
Yeah, that took a while to get all the buzz out.
This is an amazing Albuquerque location found by, of course, like all of them, Christian Diaz de Boya, and it's an amazing location, but it's an industrial building, and so all the lights buzzed, and it would have been impossible to record sound as we found it. So we had to replace every single one of the lights that you see above you. It was pricey.
It was Herculean.
And in fact, if you look way in the back, we didn't have enough money to light the whole building. So there's a little bit in the very back which is lit by movie lights, way in the distance. But this building is so big that you're probably only seeing half of it, I think.
Oh, I think the building goes on 3 times or 4 times as long in one direction. It's insane.
The sad thing is, it was a solar panel company.
That's right.
And it's a little bit sad.
Oh, because it was available.
It was available.
Yes. They just moved to a larger space.
There you go. Glass half full.
in China.
Glass half empty.
It was so funny to meet Giancarlo and Ray. And I got this theory that the most terse, tough characters were the most gregarious people in real life. Like, they were all off. They were all counterpoint to who they were playing.
It's true. Those guys are so nice and open.
Including Jonathan. I was just like, wow.
Every single one of these shots could be framed. It's beautiful. Beautiful work.
I love that his doodles look like every doodle that you would make on your book jackets in middle school.
Yes.
Like Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith swings. That's dating me, but nonetheless.
On a blue suede notebook.
You know what? Never mind. Thank you very much.
This is such an interesting scene because we've been waiting for Jimmy to kind of have some kind of breakdown about Chuck, and this is the closest thing we see to it.
Yeah, and also, I mean, this is a scene where we don't see the other side of the phone call. So I imagine, I mean, when you got that script, was that How were you feeling when you saw that it was not one-sided?
I was like, okay, this is all about coverage now, because I really trusted that Bob was going to make it always interesting, but I tried in any of the angles to make sure there was something key where that shift happened, which you can see right in you kept it here, which is like the camera doesn't start moving until he shifts internally. And I just needed something, just a little something to just inform me to think on either side of the character's moment, because he had a before and an after in this scene, and I just wanted to make sure things like this came in out of whack after he was already kind of reeling a little bit internally. Because it's so subtle. I kept telling people, I'm working with the B and subtle on the show. And I'm like, how do I subtly give you help when those things are happening,
There's one other thing to mention. I love everything you're saying, is that we use a Muzak version of Winner Takes It All in this scene, which was very deliberate, kind of as a way of kind of knitting this episode forward with what happens in episode 10.
That's so cool.
And I don't know that I haven't heard anybody mention it, but I'm hoping it makes an impact. Bob is he's so terrific in this scene. He's holding it together, but you can see he's really knocked back on his heels.
Department, and they'll help you sort things out. Just ask for.
So, Jen, when you write this, it's deliberate that you say, this is only one side. You don't leave, an option open because the scene works for you as a writer that way, correct?
We just really conceived it being on Jimmy the whole time, and it came up, that question was asked a lot, do we see the other person? And it just felt like, this isn't a main character. And honestly, the character that the scene is with is Mrs. Strauss in a way. It's not about Brett. It's about, or her nephew. It's about that character. And so it just felt right. Sometimes you just it feels right. And every time someone said, well, do you want to see the other side? We just said, no, we don't. And luckily, Andrew came in with a good plan and Bob came in with a great performance. And we managed to, I think it works. You wanted to make it about that moment for him.
On set, Andrew, didn't you perform the other side of the call?
I did, because I'm a big fan of rhythm, and I'm just a good enough bad actor that I can hold my own on the other side for rhythm. I can't necessarily give them what they'll want to change their takes or performances, but I can give them rhythm, And so with something like that, which was basically a big monologue, I've learned in my experience that helps a lot.
It worked great. And on the other end of the phone there is Joey Renish, who's one of our assistant editors. Joey did a great job. We did a temp track with him, and we all liked it so much that we just said, "Hey, let's have him do the final." And the same thing with the first voice you hear, which is Carly Jenkins, who's one of our post supervisors, and she did a great job too. And here we are back at Jenny's favorite location, Fork.
I think I originated Fork.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. And those Moscow mules.
Which are everywhere now.
Yes.
Which are everywhere.
They were ahead of their time here. A little early for that revival.
Yeah, how about you? Works good?
Yeah, actually.
So this was, I think, originally we talked about doing this in one of the booths where they always sit. And then once we got there for staging, I think you felt like moving it.
Smartly, Peter sort of pointed to how much more depth we could get if we moved out, and I had gotten so caught up on some other stuff that can happen. You get so blinded by stuff, and he was so right. The minute we shoved it over one table, it all opened up and gave us a lot better room to play.
Well, it also feels awkward because it feels like you're the other patrons in the restaurant sort of observing this difficult conversation they have. I feel they look exposed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's less private than a booth.
It's interesting. Sometimes you want to go for consistency, and sometimes you want a variation. It's very hard to put your finger on which one is the right way to go and when. This is a very tricky, subtle, emotional scene where Kim has been keeping, I wouldn't call them secrets, but she's been keeping important information from Jimmy.
I mean, there's a huge lie of omission too in this.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes.
she kind of says he offered me a job. I mean, she presented a job to him.
Yes.
So it's not, you know, she is being deceptive. But yes, she's been hiding what she's been doing, and now she's sort of manipulated a situation. And she's giving him, you know, she's trying to sell him on it subtly.
Like you said, you know, you're helping people.
I think that I love that these two know what's going on with each other, and yet don't really talk about it.
No, they're talking over it and around it, and it's so heartbreaking to watch. There's a lot of heartbreaking scenes between the two of them, but this one started to really hit it for me because she states very plainly, I like it and I'm good at it. And that's an unassailable thing. It's just her feelings, and there's no way to really chisel away at that, which is his only option, really.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, Jimmy had already made his decision about the therapy in the kitchen scene. It's not like he was ever going to change that. And she's made her decision here, and he has no hope of changing it. So those scenes really do pair. He's going to try harder to change her mind.
I just love how hurt Bob is here. And Kim sees it.
Yeah, she knew. She knew it would hit him.
And he just can't process this in front of her.
And I thought you guys made a great decision here to not counter and show what he was staring at. I think it plays so much stronger.
Yeah, originally we were going to have sort of close-ups on the kneading the dough,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And I remember even feeling like, I'm not sure even I understand what that's doing, but we're going to shoot it. And but just with sound, it just did it just beautifully.
That thing is that thing. I'm drawing stuff. Is that a direct reference to the copy machine when the dumb show that we have in season 2 where I say he's not going to be a lawyer with us? Because that's what evoked for me that silent chunk.
That's
Wow. Yes.
You know what?
Definitely.
I'm sorry. All that shows, in case you didn't realize it, was I think the show's all about me.
I did purposely
it is.
flip the screen direction once we came back.
And that's great. You know, you got such a challenge with this long scene, two people sitting at a table talking. And it's so nice that there's a shift. There's a shift right towards the end. It's wonderful. I will also say that in our original draft, I think the original concept of the scene, we were seeing people chop things, and then it was raised. Well, maybe that looks like Jimmy's going to try to kill him with a knife.
It became ominous.
It starts seeming ominous, and so we changed it to bread. And then I think what we finally came up with, which was just to stay with him.
I think anything would be a mislead because people just are going to assume you meant that specificity for something.
Yeah. It's very hard to come up with things that don't mean anything.
There's another saying.
Hi.
Hi. I only have a few minutes after.
You know, Carrie Condon, always so terrific. These two are wonderful together.
It's like the two of them have these stare-offs with one another, right?
They really do.
Everything's buried deep.
It's such an interesting relationship because they are not. This is not his daughter. This is his daughter-in-law. And, you know, they both suffered a loss, but they have different feelings about that loss. And obviously they're connected with Kaylee. So it's just that sort of push-pull of their relationship is always really interesting to play with. And then just having this after the events of the previous episode where he has a bit of that blow up at group. And then what would those, what are the further implications of that? And the big thing I know in writing it was wanting her. I mean, she's justifiably upset at him, because group is a great place for her and he's kind of messed that up. But she also has empathy for him and wants to achieve understanding. And so there's kind of a lot of different emotions to play within the scene.
There's so much more to be said about these two. I agree. And also, she's let's not forget, she's the only one who really knows the story of the murders, his revenge murders in Albuquerque. I'm sorry, in Philadelphia. I'm not surprised that she has very complicated feelings about him because she knows he's capable of violence, and I would imagine that she's thinking about that when he acts out so much earlier the season. But they seem to be coming to some kind of equilibrium here.
It was the first time I'd ever heard the word hair shirt used. And then
really?
I go and watch Bad Day Black Rock, and they use hair shirt in it. And I'm like, now I'm hearing it everywhere.
Okay, now here we come to the whole point of the episode. We've been waiting and waiting.
Yes.
We've been waiting. We've made
See, no
everyone
leather
wait.
couches. Not a single leather couch. Good God.
I don't know. I think this is a very nice office.
Audrey Moore.
Audrey Moore.
It is a
Wonderful.
very nice office. You're right. I do love my office.
Howard, this was going
It's very clean.
Audrey Moore, who's also in Godless, and she's great in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only $5,000 will cure.
Oh, there you go then.
Howard's looking good.
He's looking better. He's trying to keep it together.
So what was the challenge here in playing this character who is always so put together? I mean,
You were
this is
sick
kind of...
you were sick as a dog.
I
that
was
day.
sick as a dog for this, actually. And that actually played... I'm usually not a fan of being like, oh, that really played into it for the moment. But it really did, because I was unwell, and I was very much in my head about like, I'm not looking good. This is not going well. When in fact the scene is very much about, I'm not looking good. It's not going well. Because... and to have Jimmy come in and poke around like that, to have him witness it and all of that is also sort of a humiliation. You know... I talk about having outside advisors, downsizing, all the words that nobody who's running a business ever wants to hear. And, you know, I've known Jimmy for such a long time, and I feel, again, I feel like I have to defend myself as Howard, but Howard's done a lot of good, or seemingly good, towards Jimmy. He's defended Jimmy. He's helped Jimmy, and, you know, I'm at my lowest point, and what's my reward? What's my reward again? My reward is to get poked in the eye from him, you know? And, sorry, now I'm sounding a little annoyed, because I am, you know?
I love it.
But, you know, he's working with Bob is so great because he had a lot of different flavors. Andrew ran us through a couple of different ways on this, you know, dialing it up and down. And that's always nice to discover stuff. And Bob was game for it. And it elicits different reactions, you know.
So when you know you have a big line like the F-bomb, like,
Yeah.
is it, how do you approach that? Because I feel like you could overthink it or anticipate it or, you know.
Of course I overthought it. And I thought about this. I mean, that's why I'm not a director and I need directors. And so Andrew was very good about, you know, having me react the right way. Because I did. I think I was big a couple of times and he was like, yeah, we have that, but...
It's subtle. Yeah,
You know,
you
to
just
bring
don't
it
know.
down.
You need a range.
I'm sorry, I talked right over the fuck you, which is too bad.
That's okay. That's okay. People can switch back and forth.
Can they?
Exactly.
Go back and listen to.
I'm pretty sure that's
listen.
when my mother and father just turned the whole fucking thing off.
Please talk about this montage, Andrew.
Oh, it was awesome. Marshall and Paul and Matt, they're all so clever with finding the angles, even when I'm racing to try and match them, and they just were really clever. Word through all the camera in a short amount of time. I got thwarted by two. It'll always haunt me. I had two other shots I wanted to do, but we had a hailstorm come in.
We did.
Right, and I just feel so grateful I got what we have here. Because it came in.
It did. And in fact, that overhead shot of the pallet of phones we filmed on another day on the stage
Yeah, a week
and
later.
made it look like the curb.
Put red tape on the
Yeah,
ground
yeah.
and everything. You
That's
never
tape.
know. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I did not know at all.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. But I always wanted to get a close up of Eileen, just like Mrs. Nguyen, like leaning her head out from behind all those hands. Nobody shot those hands.
The
those
creepy
mannequin
hands, yeah.
creepy hands.
But we got some more fish for you.
Yes. Yeah.
This is actually I could say this about a lot of scenes. This is one of my favorites. I just love the way these two play together, especially since Jimmy's he almost came out on top in the scene with Howard, and now here he's met his match.
Right.
You really can feel it between those two. They just love needling each other.
Goodbye.
What are you doing?
Oh, Mrs. Nguyen, Just, step right on in.
And the way you use this pile of phones is this.
I was dying on set. I had to do it.
I laughed every time I saw that.
Again?
Did you need something, Mrs. Nguyen?
I don't want people coming in and out.
Justifiably, Bob was a little nervous, like, how silly are we getting? And I just said, I promise you I won't let it get too silly.
And also, I think,
And I thought the episode needed it right at about where
yes,
it was.
you earn the silly.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And,
It's also a little flavor of Saul in my mind. Like we've always when you were introduced to him in Breaking Bad, you always expected to smile or laugh.
Yeah.
And maybe for nefarious reasons. And so I didn't think that was a bad quality to have at this moment for him.
Yeah, especially in this season, any little hint of Saul is only going to help storytelling. Oh.
And now here we go with this. Go from two very extreme emotions. It's one of the things that surprises me about this show is how we can shift back and forth tonally.
Yeah.
And it somehow it works.
Is it fair to say that this is more than Gus has ever said in one scene than everything else he's ever done on this show, Breaking Bad included?
I think so. I think that's
close.
I think that
it
is.
has to be
that
close.
is.
I think he had one monologue in Breaking Bad that might be close, but this is quite an extensive monologue.
I felt for him. I mean, that's a high wire act to keep. I hope I'm not giving away too much, but when he was first doing it, it felt like it had a little bit of planning in it.
Right.
And I privately took him aside and I said, look, just start talking to him and don't let yourself know where you're going. Because everybody becomes a great storyteller once it gets going. Mm-hmm. And just trust it'll kick in. And he was great after that.
Yeah, and I think it's a challenge for this character, too, because he doesn't give us a lot of himself,
Yeah.
And when you're telling a story like this, the instinct is to get nostalgic and
It's the once
really
upon a
milk
time
it out.
start, yeah.
So which
It's
is
a trap.
counter to his
As an
character.
actor, it's an absolute trap because you see it and you start looking at it from the outside. And
Right.
what you said is very much true. It's just tell the story as it comes to you, not as you know the ending.
You thought you were going to say 2 sentences and 20 sentences later, but how do you get into that?
That's a great note.
It's such it's such a challenge with Gus Fring because he is so fascinating, but part of the fascination are the areas that we don't know. It's the things that you don't know. It's the part where your imagination takes over, and so this is as much information as we've ever really had about his prehistory. I mean, certainly, we go back to that swimming pool at Don Eladio's back in Breaking Bad, but this is his point of view. This is how he sees the world, and it's just a dance. It's how much do we give away? It's a big question, and Giancarlo is. I mean, if I have any frustration with the show, it's that we have some of these amazing actors and these amazing characters, and sometimes we just don't get enough of all of them. And I would love to have more. Well, I'd love to have more Howard Hamlin. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to have.
You know what? Even though I'm sitting right next to you, I'm still going to believe you think that.
and I would love to have more Gus Fring.
I built a snare.
I also I'm kind of impressed with how little light there is in this
How about
scene.
that, right?
Yeah. We just tried. We trusted the Vericam and we said, look, let him lean into the light in 2 spots. And so it'll really mean, because we have, again, so little to play with. We want to make those mean something when he does.
Did that look like what we're seeing now on your monitor? Was it pretty accurate?
You actually see less in a weird way when you're actually there.
Okay.
A little bit.
So I waited.
I mean, this is, as we've mentioned before on other, we shoot most of the show on the red, various models of the red weapon, red murder device, knife, bayonet, whatever they're calling it, monster, killer, dragon. But we also use Marshall uses at his discretion another camera, which is the Panasonic Vericam, and the advantage of the Vericam, it's a different look. The Vericam has a native ISO of 5,000, which means it picks up very small amounts of light. It means that Marshall and his crew have to operate very differently because tiny amounts of light mean an awful lot. A lot of the time, and I wasn't there for this, but a lot of the time, I'm guessing there was probably a lot of blacks. There were probably a lot of black pieces of duvetine off camera to actually stop the light from reflecting off the floor and so on. It's another tool in the arsenal, but it's got a fascinating look and so appropriate for this very dark scene.
I believe you will wake.
Did Mark Margolis fall asleep during this?
No, he did not like that thing in his mouth.
I bet not.
Then there was debate both in script and on set to whether to let his finger move on the shot.
Because we're all waiting for it, right?
Right. And we shot both. I asked if it was okay if I shot both because, but I was once I saw the cut, I was like, oh, you don't need it. You don't need it. It's too much.
Yeah. Those are those questions, you never know. Sometimes you don't know until later on whether it's the right choice or not. What is going to be the right choice.
Wow. It's just easy.
So here's a whole mess of Germans that we had to introduce. You had a lot to introduce in this episode.
Yeah, we had a lot of casting going on till the day of.
Yes.
And a lot of switching of Germans because suddenly somebody would drop out, somebody could make it, somebody couldn't.
It's hard to coordinate that large of a group, scheduling wise.
Yeah, this is all tribute to Bialy Thomas and Russell, and also our Albuquerque casting led by Kira Kay. They really had to scour the world because some of these guys are Germans, but we couldn't afford to fly everybody from Germany. Reiner's the only one who actually flew in from Germany specifically for the show. Most of the others we found either in Albuquerque or in L.A. And they do a great job. They play off each other so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that was interesting being on set, kind of seeing who naturally played off each other.
Really?
And I think when you were kind of working with the blocking and kind of figuring out how to pair people.
Yeah.
Over here, Kai.
It's funny, I didn't know exactly where you were going with setting this up for this episode, so I was always unsure how much emphasis to put on Kai. Like how deep is this storyline going to go?
Yeah.
So, I now get it now that I've seen the whole thing.
Yeah, he's a little bit of your red herring there. Yeah. Also, it's good to just even if he wasn't functioning in a way to sort of influence later events, it's just good to have different flavors within this group. And the idea that a large group of guys, especially workers like this, coming in and no one having any sort of pushback against Mike, I feel is unrealistic. Building that in, I think
he was well cast because he just has that troublemaker.
He really does.
He really did.
This shot's great. It's very unusual for us. It just
really
worked great. It's because you're seeing these guys in the space. It's like a 3D shot. It's wonderful.
Yeah, Kai was a hard role to cast.
Troublemaker.
Yeah, because you wanted there to be something appealing about him too.
Yes.
No,
you knew he was the bad boy that got the girls, and you hated him for it.
I remember though, Jenny. Yes. I remember you were very specific when you saw Ben. You were like, this is the right flavor.
Yeah,
this is the. I think you were really strongly advocating for him.
Yeah, for some reason, Kai just popped into my head, fully formed, and was a character that I had a really strong point of view about. And luckily, I think everybody was on the same page about Ben totally for sure. But yeah, because it's a hard thing of you don't want him to be exactly what you said, like a charming guy that you hate anyway.
Yeah, like Jimmy.
And then you also get to introduce all the ins and outs of this.
This was fun.
Yeah.
All this was fun.
I just love how fully Mike has figured this whole place out. It's so much fun.
There are 2 barn owls the size of kindergarten children that live above the roof right there that leave a mess about the size of kindergarten children.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, this is another amazing shot. This is just I mean, there's so much great composition in this episode. It's beautiful.
So cold.
Hey, Mike.
And of course, you had to shoot all the images that are on those TV screens.
Yeah, I think that you guys put some of that in post from other later stuff you shot, I think.
We did, but
Which
I think
helped a
you
lot.
shot most of it.
We had stuff there, but some of it was a little bit more nondescript.
Yeah, because it was a lighting element
Yeah.
to the scene.
It was so, just having a row of monitors like
Wait,
this
so
is such a pain
each
in the
monitor
neck.
is this is not like filming a live feed at all?
No.
No. We did roll on that while they were, I believe we were rolling the cameras and the guys were in the warehouse doing their stuff while we were filming that scene in the trailer. So they were rolling all that B-roll that we would then marry and post.
We actually used some of the imagery that was actually on the screen was from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, it was for
Oh, that's
lighting.
smart.
and-
That's smart.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we had to go. Now,
Here we are.
Gennifer Bryan, our costume designer, is just a genius. This is. I love this tracksuit. I want one of these.
Probably get her to...
Vintage.
Corey, who's in the middle, was also in an episode that I did for Stranger Things, and I've realized he's going to be my TV good luck charm and has
Really?
to be in every one of the episodes I ever direct.
I'm sure he'll be amenable.
Yeah, I was gonna say Corey's like, I'll hitch my wagon to that.
Yeah.
These 3 young guys are great.
All right, straight talk. I need to be able to sell my phones without worrying.
Do I go into the tragedy that happened this evening?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Bob is in amazing shape, and even more so for his age. And he went all out when he ran away from the kids here. And we did one take, great. We had a camera down at the end of the sidewalk, getting him from the front, and one from the side going along with him. And we went to start for take 2, and something ripped. Something in his hamstring, I think it was.
He strained. I think it was a strain.
Okay,
Yeah.
and we just didn't know if it was a rip.
Yeah.
And suddenly everything shut down. We still had to shoot him running down another alleyway and into the driveway with it's all got the chicken wire fence that we had mocked up, and the worst case scenario was the night was going to be over. He's going to go to the hospital, but he didn't. He could stand. He had some work done, but he couldn't run. He really couldn't even walk, but he could stand. So when you see him go around the corner after this,
This is
right.
your first
This is
take.
the one take, the
First
only
take.
take.
Yeah.
And then in the next one, it's somebody else's. We did a Hollywood switch. And so this
Yeah.
is somebody else that I taught to run like him.
Yes.
And then we
This is Posey.
stay with these guys, it's flip over, and Bob's already standing where I need him to, trying to climb up.
Yeah.
And we're like,
Wow.
saved
Yeah.
our ass.
It's a great Texas swap.
Yeah.
And you're also, you have the camera on some kind of little RV vehicle
Yeah,
there.
which was awesome. Yeah. But that was the only way out of that night. And if Bob hadn't been able to stand, I don't know if we could have.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the sort of improvising that you talk about. That's what
This is maybe one. This is another amazing shot.
Wow.
I got to say, guys, I came up with going upside down, and anything from his POV would be upside down. But then when you guys in post flipped the majority of the shots, it was such an inspired genius idea. It just is so unnerving.
This is Chris McCaleb who cut this episode, and this is his first year with us as an editor. He was Kelly's assistant for us before this, although he has cut other shows. And there was a lot of experimenting about what could be right side up, what should be upside down, and we tried many different versions. And this really seemed to work. And then the ripping off of the tape flips everything over also.
But it's like you don't even notice it does it. It's so interesting.
Like
the
that.
way-
Yeah.
That works so well.
It's so creepy and weird and adds to the feeling that I think the whole scene was supposed to have. There you go. And then it flips and it's like, oh yeah.
tell us about shooting with guys upside down. How does that work?
That was the major frustration. Found out very late in the game that they can only hang for 50 seconds upside down, and then you have to take them down, and then they have to recover.
50 seconds?
Yeah. And the scene was 5 minutes long, so I had to break it into chapters so that I could get them 50-second lengths, and the math immediately didn't add up. Like, we're not going to finish this tonight. And we tried. We got really close. I was down to maybe 4 or 5 shots, setups that I needed. And thank God Tom came in and picked up the rest and really got some great stuff. The bat was inspired. The scratching of the bat against the floor,
Dragging the bat.
that shamed me. I was like, that is such an inspired idea.
You know, you shouldn't be shamed because it's one of the great advantages of being able to cut a scene and then look and say, hey, I know what we
Exactly.
I know what we could use.
I'm so grateful. All of this got plus. But anyway, the turnaround time would sometimes be a half an hour before you could do this take number 2 of one of the sections.
Well, now, the actors, was it difficult for them? Were they complaining about it? Or, I mean, I understand this has got to be union rules on some level, right?
These are the rules, yeah.
They were just the rules. They don't. They're within a time limit where I don't think they could complain. You know?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
It's like they probably would have, rightly so, pushed themselves farther.
Sure, that's what I imagine.
Out of desire to do the scene.
Yeah, your instinct was like, no, let's go, let's get it. But I'm sure this is a stunt thing that's...
And Mountain Man, David, built his own Wally, he told me. In his garage. It's a nice little side tidbit he told me while we were waiting for one of the kids to be rehung.
Well, Andrew, you don't know this, but we've all been starstruck working with you.
Yes.
We've been trying to be cool.
I've been the same. I've been failing at it.
The work that you've done is just, I mean, you've created images and characters that are going to be with us 100 years from now, and it's amazing.
I will say the same about this show, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. It is a outstanding character study. Outstanding.
Well, boy, this is great mutual appreciation.
I know.
Everybody loves everybody.
It's honest. What can I say?
Yeah.
There's nothing insincere about it. It's just,
and I cannot wait to see where it goes.
Well, I don't know if we're ever going to top that upside down sequence.